Hi, my name is Haley, and I'm a PhD candidate at the Department of Sociology in the University of Hong Kong. For this poster presentations, I would love to take the opportunity to share a topic about a gender analysis of current labor regulatory gap in China's gig economy, which is a part of my PhD research project, and it will be developed into a chapter and a journal article. So it will be helpful to receive feedback and comments from researchers and scholars who are interested in the study of gender, platform economy, and labor regulations. For my research question, I'm intrigued to investigate the gender regulatory gaps in China's gig economy with respect to the social and labor protections of female platform workers. Before I share my research methodology, primary findings, and policy recommendations, I will introduce the background of this research, including work relations in China's labor regulations, regulatory gaps and debate on labor relations in China's gig economy, and the gender discussions of labor regulations. Work relations in China are either regulated through labor relations, which a worker is protected by a labor contract covered by labor laws, or employment relations, which a worker is engaged in a labor service relations under civil laws regulations after the economic reform since the 1980s. According to the law of China, there are two qualifiers to distinguish a labor relations from an employment relations. The first qualifier is that there must be a work unit and a worker involved in a labor relations. And a second qualifier is that the labor relation should be established through a written labor contract. The differences between labor status and employment status will greatly affect the entitlement of workers' social security and labor rights. For example, a worker in a labor relations will access to five mandatory social security schemes, including pension, medical insurance, unemployment insurance, maternity insurance, and occupational injury insurance, and enjoy labor rights such as minimum wage, working time, paid leave, protection from workplace discrimination. Yet, a worker in an employment relation is not entitled to five mandatory social security schemes and labor rights. As a result, a worker in an employment relation is more vulnerable compared to a worker in labor relations. And in the case of digital platforms in China, such as Didi Chuxing and Meituan, they classify the employees as a self-employed worker, which means that platform workers only have employment status. And digital platforms legitimate their classifications of workers' self-employed status in three ways. First, they claim that they do not manage workers through workplace rules and do not hold disciplinary powers because platform workers have the flexibility and freedom over working time, schedule, and location. And second, digital platform contend that they do not provide necessary materials such as tools, equipment, and facility for their workers, and therefore they are not a work unit in accordance with the provisions of China's labor law. And third, digital platforms highlight that their wage management system and performance assessment do not operate as a work unit because they do not pay workers in full or on a fixed pay schedule. Instead, digital platforms pay the workers on a piece rate basis after the completions of an order and deductions of service and information commissions. And at the same time, they claim that they do not assess workers' performance. Instead, customers of the platform will carry out the performance assessment, and they do not interfere customer subjective views and experience in the evaluation process. So basically, digital platforms toy with the regulatory gap in current labor legislations, and they regard platform workers as self-employed individuals who consequently cannot enjoy workers' social security schemes and labor rights because of their work status is not protected by labor law. And interestingly, some scholars actually agree with the logics of digital platforms because they believe that platforms only earn information service fee in every platform order, and the platform workers have great flexibility and they can work in multiple platforms. And as a result, the platform work relations does not fit into the subordination natures of the labor relations. However, other scholars argue that platform workers are subject to platform's instructions and supervisions, and they only have a limited degree of autonomy, And platform workers are disempowered, disorganized, and atomized under the tightened social control of platforms and clients. And some Marxist scholars further criticize that the operations models of platforms has transformed traditional production, such as those in factory and office, yet they have willfully avoided legal responsibility for workers' social security and labor rights, in which they exploit platform workers to the extent which work relations is commodified and the workers turn into a surplus value of the enterprise. So far, the discussion and debate of labor regulations are not gender specific, yet China's gender discriminations and sexual harassment in the workplace has drawn the attentions of the public in recent years. For example, tech companies like Alibaba's recruitment advertisement exploits girls' beauty as a means to attract male applicants. And a survey conducted in 2013 shows that 70% of the female factory workers in Guangzhou have experienced sexual harassment, such as annoying touching, phone call and messages, sexual image, and offensive comments. And a lot of the respondents in the survey said that they remained silent and did not file a formal complaint to the factory or take matters to the court because they were scared and they are very busy at work. And they also believe that employer, trade union, and women's federation would be of little help in addressing the harassment problem. So in my research project, I believe that it is very important to highlight the gender aspect of the labor regulatory gap, along with the struggles of labor status in China's gig economy, and therefore, I will contextualize my investigations in China's ride-hailing industry as a case study and conduct qualitative methodology, including ethnography and in-depth interviews with trendy female platform drivers, and learn about the difficulty and struggles in dealing with discrimination, harassment, and violence in the ride-hailing platforms. The primary findings suggest that female platform drivers are constantly being discriminated by customer male platform drivers and other female platform drivers. For example, female drivers are challenged by their customer if they drive too fast or too slow, and some customers refuse to take their ride if they know the driver is a female. And whenever a car accident happens and the driver is a female, male platform drivers will make a discriminative gender remark in the platform drivers group chat and saying that, oh, it's the woman's driving and that's the cause of the accident. So interestingly, some female drivers also respond to such a discriminative comment and say that, oh, driving is not suitable for every woman because it needs high concentration and rapid reaction. Otherwise, it is very dangerous. Besides, harassment and violence are often gendered, and in my interviews, some female platform drivers experience harassment from male customers from time to time. For example, flirting and unwelcome sexual attention are very often mentioned by the drivers, and sometimes a male customers refuse to leave the car until they can get the female driver's phone number or WeChat account. So I asked them about why you don't record the harassment with your digital device in the car and then report to the platform or the police. And they would say, oh, the technology is useless because the platform will not check it. And if we report it, it just takes us so much time and effort. And the platform may not think that it is a harassment. So, on the contrary, some female platform driver did mention that they can use the warning button in their digital device and broadcast to the passengers if they experience harassment, and they should pull over and stop the car and ask the passengers to get off the car or they get off by themselves and call the police and then contact the customer service and report the case. However, the confrontations with customers is not always safe, and the platform is usually very passive in dealing with drivers' injury. For example, in my case, a female driver get hit on the face by a male customer, and her eardrum is broken after arguing with the customer. And she did not receive support or help from the platform or the labor union. And at the same time, she's pressured by the police investigations to agree on a money settlement with the predator. Last but not least, these stories are just the tips of the iceberg. And they actually review the daily struggle and difficulties of female platform workers in the ride hauling industry, and it reflects the importance of legalizations of platform workers' labor status. And it also highlights the deficiencies of digital device in preventing and reporting harassment cases and the lack of sensitivity of labor union and NGOs in dealing with gender discriminations in a gig economy. So thank you for listening, and I really look forward to your comments.